Hi, Ann Cornick for Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here really to work with beginners to get them started in China painting and have easy projects for them. But some of my projects I try to make a little more challenging so that those of you that have been painting a while will paint along with us. We're going to be working on our mug today. And I've actually completed one, so I wanted you to be able to see what the final product will look like. So this is what it looks like. Now, I put too much gold on here. Can you see? It looks like a trophy instead of a mug. But I painted, when you do a mug, you always do it so that it's held at the right hand and you can see the front of it. But if you have a left-handed person that you know you're giving this to, you can do it on the reverse. So that's fine. It's not the normal way you would do it, but this will at least give you an idea. So this is what it looks like. And you come all the way around. It's got a little seawall, little island in the middle, and then it's got the trees in the background, and that's it. Now, a couple of things. I found another mug down the basement. I want you to always check your mugs carefully. I was fortunate this person actually circled the chip there, and then on the handle, you can see there's like a black spot right there. And I think there's another one up at the top. Yeah, right up in there. And you should always check for those. Now, you can paint it with the spots on. A lot of them will have spots. But if you paint it with the spots on, just make sure that you plan out your design so that it doesn't interfere. I'm going to put a dark brown or some color that's fairly dark on the handle, and that way it won't take away, you won't see the spot. And I think the chip on the bottom, obviously, it's not in the way. And I felt the edges of it, and they were not, recently chipped. So I think this is something I can work with. So I traced on my line drawing. This is the line drawing. And the way I did it was I held up my mug, and I did it starting here and just went around the mug. And I tried to keep it a fair distance just from the lip, just maybe a 1/4 inch or something, all the way around, because I figure you can fill in the bottom of this mug pretty easily with things, but you can't always fill in the top except for sky. And then you do want to leave a little bit of room where you fade out with the sky so that there's not too much up there, so you can have it all be clouds or what have you. So that's how I did that. Now, I looked at the calendar and I realized that Father's Day is only 2 weeks away, a little over 2 weeks away. So one of the things I will do next week is I will have one extra live. It took me, because I put gold on this mug, it took me 4 fires for this. The first fire I did this part, this side, and I went all the way around with the sky and the water. And I also put in the island. Then on the second fire, because I was afraid if I started to paint the island, I'd end up doing this and mess up my first side. So I fired it. Then on the second fire, I did the island, the little trees in the background up here, and the pen work on the canoe, and also on the little seawall here. And I did some pen work on the island just to get some of the branches on those trees and everything like that. So I actually used vacation photos that I had for the island because it was right across from where we stayed last year. So I had that handy, and it was nice. I found on the second fire that I also needed to extend the island a little bit, so I did, because it didn't quite fill in enough of this area. Now on this mug, it's not as easy. I did the same thing, and I started here. And, you use the tracing paper, which is Saral, S-A-R-A-L, tracing paper. And you use the dark side down. And then if you can leave that down, that would be best. Because I traced over this so you can see it with a red Sharpie. But you don't want to do that if you don't need to, because it will get in your way. So I have the canoe, and I have all that. And then because this is a much wider mug, I had to put my island in and finish off this side. Well, I decided to carry the sand on over, and I just put a dock in. Now, I only put in the outline of these things, as you can see, like with the trees and things, because we're just going to fill them in, and that's a little easier than trying to draw every leaf and get everything perfect. You need 3 shades of green. I'm working off my big palette. This is my big palette. See? I have a big palette because I tried to go to a smaller palette and I can't. I have my colors every other space on here, and it gives me plenty of room for my colors, and I can add and subtract things as I need to. And then, as you saw in some of the projects, I work on a smaller palette just to make it easier. But today I'm using my big palette because I kind of like to go back and forth between the greens and the yellows and the blues as I need to. And I don't want to be limited to just the colors that I would have on a smaller palette. So if you have these colors, great. If you don't, substitute whatever you think. But the idea of this mug is for you to be able to personalize it. So you do this side the way I've got it traced if you want to. And then when you get to this side, this is where you add whatever, you know, a beach ball. If he has a boat, put a boat out in the lake. You know, anything that you think might personalize this a little more, you can put the name on this side if you want to instead. So I just thought I would, you know, give you that option. Colors are 3 shades of green, a light, a medium, and a dark. I found I use like moss green, a dark green, which is like a warm brown green, and then a shading green or black green. Those are the 3 colors. I don't use chartreuse. Tried to use chartreuse, but it really didn't work very well for me. Didn't show up the way I wanted it to. I did use a little bit of yellow. I lied, I didn't put it on there, but I did use a little bit of yellow like on the trees. Here, I can show you, see? Up near the top just to give it a little bit of sunshine, and I thought that worked pretty well. And I'm going off photos from last year, so. Baby blue for the sky, Copenhagen blue for the water. You only need the dark color this time, but if you have the baby blue at the very end, we do a wash over the water. It turns out nice. Today we're going to put the texture on the water, and I think that if you can see here, and then I did a wash over the water, and you see how the texture is already there? Yeah, it looks pretty decent, so I was pretty pleased with it. You're going to need black for the trees. You're going to need a yellow, brown, or a tan, or a pecan, or any kind of medium brown that you have even. You could use ivory for the canoe. And then the last color you'll need is tan, and I use that for the sand there. And, you know, you can put grass in this. You can do whatever you want with this. This is a piece that you should personalize. Sorry, we're going to start with the sky and with the water, and then we're going to work with the trees and everything. So that should work pretty well. You will need, if you have it, a filbert for this. If you don't have a filbert, get a nice square shader that gives you a nice smooth coat for your sky. I did wash my china off with alcohol before I started on it, but only the first time. And a special note, do not wash it off if you intend to use, don't use alcohol if you intend to use luster, because they're kind of non-compatible. So I'm actually going to start on the back side, because all I'm really going to do on the back side this time is put in the water, the sky, the beach, and that's it, and the island. I'm not going to put this little dock in. I will wait until later. And see, I can put flowers on each side. That's supposed to be a little iris. So we're going to start with the baby blue, and we're just going to do the sky. Now, I would do the sky up to, I have a rim on mine. Do you see that rim up at the top? I would do it up to there. I go up to there, and then I would wipe that off and go over the section behind the island. You want to go over the section behind the island because you want to get a blue behind whatever you put on the island. Okay? So I'm just, and that's what I like. I'm doing big C strokes. And they're very easy to do. And just keep going, keep going. I went a little low here, not a big deal. And keep going. And then I'm going to go back here and do some. Got to leave a few clouds, so leave some weight in there. And then over here behind the tree, just going to put a little bit of blue here. Kind of hold it away and see if you like it. See if it has the colors you want on there, if it has any lines. You don't really want it to have any lines, so try to work those out. There we go. That's why we do the C strokes, right? Give the sky a little bit of a fluff. Okay, nice. Okay, now we're going to do the water. We're not going to do these trees back here. We're not going to do any trees back here. If you decide to do those, you can do them on the next fire, and they will paint right over this. I think because I really, well, I might want it to be, maybe I do want it to be a little more blue. I'm looking at the pictures I took, and it seems to be a little bluer back here, but I'm just going to kind of take a little off there. Okay. I've got my Copenhagen, and I'm mixing it with baby blue for the background here. There's my thing. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to draw it. Now you're going to try to draw a straight line, but of course shorelines dip and flow and what have you, so it's not a problem. But I'm going to put a little more Copenhagen in it here because I want to make sure that I know that this is water, and I'm not going behind the island on the water because it detracts from anything you put on the island. The blue doesn't, but it seems like anything else does. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. It's a calm. Here's the picture I'm working from. See how those calm little guys are there? And so I'm doing like a wavy. Oh. I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to do back and forth. Let me get a little more paint on here. I kind of keep 2 oils out. I keep Randy's oil out because it does wonders. And I also keep out my oil, the one I like, which is the Terpenoid Natural, because it dries a little quicker. And then I kind of alternate between them. Right now I'm using Randy's because Randy's seems to have picks up the paint a little better. And I'm just going up and down and up and down. I'm going to leave a spot for this so I know it's there on mine. But you, if you're not going to be putting a dock on or anything like that, because this is entirely up to you, then you need to decide what you're going to put there against the water. I'm using the tip of my brush. This is my filbert, and I'm just doing these as kind of a lateral up and down, kind of a lateral wave. Now, some places it's a little too, I want it to be kind of like here. I think that's a little bit too much. So I'm going to smooth it out a little. The further back you go on the lake, the less you see the waves when it's calm, so I can smooth this out. And if you get over to this side and you just want it to fade out, just use your finger like I am, and that will help. Just have it fade out a little bit. Okay, now this is just the texture that you're putting on this time. If you don't put the texture on next time when you put the little bit of a wash over it with the light baby blue, you won't even see any waves, okay? So you got to get some decent texture in there with the tip of your brush. You can even use, if you have it, a dark blue and just kind of put it in there too if you want. But you see, you can give it a little more texture with that if you want. And it adds, under some of these waves, they really have a kind of a blue, a deeper blue. So there, I'm just going to wipe it in. Okay, I kind of like that. That's pretty good. Looking at my other mug, and yeah, it's about what I did. And then I'm going to start coming over this way. Okay. I'm going to turn it upside down, put my hand in it. That's the only way I can hold it right now. We're going to do the same thing. Now, it's going to be harder because it's upside down. Normally, if I did this, I would do it like this and hold it towards myself, but I don't think you'd be able to see it very well. So I'm going to do it this way and just hope for the best. And actually, sometimes when you do things upside down, you get a better result. So, and I'm just pulling the waves, making them a little. Leave a lot of white in between, only because you're going to go back and you're going to be adding you're going to be adding a wash to this, which will make it all blue on the near the final fire. So don't worry if you have a lot of white, it won't be at the very end. Oh, can't get enough of that color on there. There. A little more of that. And then we're going to go way over to here. Way over to here. I'm putting the dark on first this time. I'm not going behind the island because it just distracts. And now I'm back into my Copenhagen. And then the final place, of course, is right here. This is actually water that we see right there. So I'm just doing a little, okay, let me take a little out there. There. Okay, now I'm going to turn it around so you can see it. Okay, now you see right here, I don't have the water all the way up to the tree. I want it up to the tree. I want this water there. That's a little better. Let's go across. I don't have any water up in here, so I got to get it real close up in there. That's good. There's a little break here. Now, this is where I extended the island, so you may want to extend your island too. It's just going to depend. Maybe this is too much alike. There we go. Oops, I don't have it near the base of the island very well, do I? Okay. Now, I did put my island in on this fire. Just going to tap that there just to let it fade out a little. A teacher once told me, it was Gladys Bug, my very first teacher. She always said, take your finger, rub it on something like your jeans, if you have jeans on, something with a little texture, and then do this and you won't get the fingerprints. I thought that was always interesting, and she was usually right. So I'm going to put a little more of this down in here. Just make sure you've gotten all the areas so that you're not missing anything. Okay, I think I'm pretty good. I can always add more in here if I need to. Let me just add a little more here. Oops, am I off there? Okay, not putting my flowers in this time, but I am leaving some room. Now I'm going to put in my island. That's pretty simple too. I'm using warm brown green because I think it just works well. Oops. Let me get some on my brush, huh? And I'm just going to, let me get down here. I'm just going to come across and just make an island. I'm just making the land. I'm not making the stuff on the island because if I do, I'm going to put my hand in it and wreck it all like, you know, like we all do. So that's all I'm doing, just to remind me that there's an island there. Alrighty, so now we're going to start first with the green on this part. And I'm holding it by the bottom because, of course, everything on the top is already painted. And we're going to put in the trees. Now, you can start, if you want, by doing this part of the tree. But I prefer to start with this part of the tree. Now, I'm going to take this brush again, the big one. It's 16, I believe. And it's yeah, you know. And I'm just going to put a little blue in this tree so that way when I paint it, oh, I should put some blue here, shouldn't I? And a little water. So it looks like it's all one painting, right? Now I'm going to take my pointer, or Yeah, I guess it is a pointer. And I'm going to dip it in my oil and wipe it off. And I'm going to start with my my darkest green, no, my lightest yellow. And I'm just going to put a little yellow up in this area where it's going to be really sunny. We want the sun to come through. I'll show you on the other one here. This is the one I've already done. Like I said, too much gold. But you see, I've got a lot of yellow up here. So you have a lot of sunshine, sort of. So we're going to start with the yellow and put it up here. And I'm just dabbing it. There's nothing fancy about it because I just want it in the background. I just want that color in the background. Okay? And then I'm going to my next favorite, moss green. Now this is my lightest green. I know for a lot of people that's not a light green. Now you're going to have to think these are going to be birch trees. If you've ever seen birch trees, here's a picture. Let me show you that I'm working from. You see how their leaves kind of go out and they leave the blue behind them? So I'm just going to start and just put in a few little leaves. I obviously can't do the leaves in great detail. And what you're doing is, you don't want to cover up the yellow, but what you're doing is you're trying to create, and you can go off of this pattern, you're trying to create the look of birch tree leaves, if you know what those are, or you can use any leaf you want. Kind of squint your eyes, you might get rid of the red lines so you can tell exactly what you're doing. I like to have them come out over the red lines. And I'm just putting them on there, just kind of plopping them on. Got plenty of paint on my brush. That's one thing you don't want to skimp on, is having paint on your brush. I'm going to put it up in here a little bit. I don't like that guy there. That's better. And I'm going to put a little over on this side. Let it come down a little. There we go. And put some up in here. Some down in here. Alrighty, that's the light green. And then I've got a little bit of light green over on this side, so let's do that. Black green, okay. And I'm going to use the black green last because the shadows on this side, the sun's behind this picture. So that's what I'm following. And these I'm the most careful with. These are going to make it or break it. Side of my brush, a couple of places just to give it a little more depth, shadow. Oops, that's a little too dark in there. There we go. I do the same thing back in here. Do it a little closer to the tree, make it darker. Got to get this guy closer to the tree here, closer to the tree there. Okay. All right, now we're going to do, I have my liner. I don't know if the liner is the best thing to use or not, but I'm going to do my, my birch. So you take some black. This is pretty simple. And you're just going to come down like this. And then kind of if it skips, it's fine. And And then you're going to go like this. Keep them together. It's not on the thing, but I'm going to make it a branch. Now remember, you can change things as you're painting. You don't need to leave it exactly the same way as I have it. I did this because I thought it was simple for beginners. But if it's not and you need to change it, feel free to change it. You can put these anywhere you want. They also have these little knot holes like this, where it's a thing like that, and there's a thing in the middle of it. Usually wherever they branch off, they have a lot of this stuff there. And it wraps around the tree, so you kind of have to remember that. Okay, oops, need some on this other guy over here. Forgot him. This little branch right here. Oops, well, that's terrible. I got, there. Okay, and then we're going to do okay, so that's what we've got so far. Can you see it pretty well? Okay. Then I'm going to do this down here, which is just a little shrub. Kind of the same way. It's really simple. We can use a stippler certainly for the background. That's not a problem. So I'm going to put a little bit of the light color in the background. Okay. And then I'm going to start putting in the darker color. And if you don't like that, you know, you can always go through and like use this to give you a little little space in there. And the same thing up here. If you need a few holes in the tree, you can always make them more blue next time. There you go. Okay. Alrighty. Now we're going to do the canoe. Canoe is fairly easy. I did it with my my pointer. It has ribs on the inside. I didn't draw those in because I thought that's kind of silly. It just kind of gets in the way. I'm using two colors for this. I'm using my wheat, which is what I use for my sand. And I'm gonna have to put my hand in it. Hang on. Okay, I'm doing this around the top. Tan, ivory, sand, wheat, any color will do up there, like that. You just want it on there. Okay. And then you also want a lighter color kind of on some of these benches. These two are benches. These two are those struts that go across the middle. And on the picture I have, they are darker. So I'm doing a medium brown. Oh, medium brown, I guess, is another color you can use. There you go. All right. Now on the inside, it's also tan. So I'm going to put a little bit of tan in there. Should have done that first, huh? Well, we can go back and do it. And then I'm taking my pointer. You could use your pen, whatever you want to use. And I'm going to take probably my rich brown, and I'm going to start doing these little bows that are on the inside, the little bows. You'll go over these with a pen next time. This is just a holding place for them. Oops, that's way too deep. You could even just leave it white in the middle and Let me get one of these guys here. There we go. Let's make these a little darker then, the little seats. We'll put a wash over this at the end and it won't be so obvious. Oops. Yeah, that's a seat. Okay. All right. And then we're going to take a pecan or yellow brown, whatever color you have, and we're just going to tint the outside of this. There, I'll do it this way so you can see it. Just lightly. You don't have to worry about it being super well done at this point. You can always use a, you can always get it darker in the second coat. You just want to fill in the color. And then these little guys here, I'm going to get a little bit of brown on my brush. Yeah, come on, like a medium brown. And just give it a little bit of shade there. And a little bit of shade here. Okay. And the final things are these crosshatch things. And one of them is wheat. That's this one, because it's a rope. And one of them is the medium brown. That's this one, because it's actually wood. Okay, so you've got it laid in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Here, let me turn it towards you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you just want to have it laid in so that it looks like you've got the little canoe there. Okay, and then we're just going to put the sand in. Oh, we're going to put this boardwalk in too. So the boardwalk is really simple. Let me just show you. Oh, I'm going to have to hold it this way, I guess. Yeah, this is not easy. Can you see there? Yeah, I guess you can. Okay, I'm just going to block it in. So for purposes of doing this little boardwalk, I'm just going to block it in with like a pecan as the lighter background would. We'll do a darker color over it next time. Or yellow brown. Yellow brown would work just as well. We're just blocking it in. And then we're going to take a liner with a little rich brown on it. And we're just going to separate it here. Oh, we're going to do pen work next time, which will really make it stand out. Separate it there, separate it here. And then these guys need to just be shaded on one side at least, and then you can do the rest next time. There you go. Maybe do the top. And if you want to add a little more color to them, you can. That's fine. Okay. Oops, we missed a little pecan here. Don't know how that happened. Okay, now the last thing we're going to do is the sand. I'm going to put my hand in. I left the room here for the, I'm going to do a boardwalk, so that's why I left the room there. We're going to be using the big brush. It's pretty important that you get the basics blocked in, fire it, and then see if you like it. And like on this up here, I think I like it more when it's stippled like this, so I might go back and add a little more green in it. Okay, so I'm going to take my wheat, and I'm going to try to make it go lighter than that, obviously not so yellow. And I'm just going around. Ba, ba, ba. Next time I can See on here, I have it so that it actually goes, where is the mug? Here. I have it so it actually goes down a little bit there in the middle and things like that. I did all that on the second. On the first, I just did this. Just color it in with wheat or a light brown. Whatever you have is fine. I wouldn't go too dark, though. Ivory would be excellent because what you don't want to do is lose it. This is my final result. Okay, so you got that. Then you've got your island in the middle with the trees on it. You get the trees in the background. This was a smaller mug. Okay, now this is what we've done today. Let me hold it by this. Okay, so here we have that, and we're going to go this way. There's the island. We're not putting anything on the island, and we're not putting the water behind the island. And see how I've got a placeholder for my dock. Okay, so that gives you, now think about what's personal for the person that you're doing this for. If you're doing it for someone, a name could go on the back. You know, you don't have to have this. You could have a name on the back. You could put birds there. You could put ducks there. You could put boats if they swim. You can put anything that pertains to the person. A golf bag could be leaning by a tree. I mean, this is yours to paint. I did the one side from pictures that I had. And now it's up to you to do the island and the rest. So think about what you want on the island, or just look out the window and paint the trees you see. Maybe put a house on the island. Your island can be anything you want it to be. Alrighty, that's it for today. Pick up those brushes and keep painting. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.